me some ice, skin me a peach and save the fuzz for my pillow. Poach me a prawns, talk to me nice, you got to wine me. Anytime I'm getting hungry, peel me a grape.
I'm Bonicelli, and we are cooking with Italian style. It's not always fast, it's not always easy, and it's not always Italian. We use the freshest and finest ingredients that we can find and afford, and we not only savor the meals we make, but we savor making them. That's cooking with Italian style. This week, we're making one of my favorite things I learned to make in 2009, and that is homemade mozzarella. We're going to serve that with a crusty Italian bread that we're going to spice up with a little garlic, and then we're making a roasted vegetable compote out of peppers, tomatoes, and capers. Makes a lovely little light lunch or appetizer. So, let's get cooking. I started making my own soft cheeses at home about a year ago, and what started out as kind of a little fact-finding mission turned into a total obsession. I started with ricotta, moved on to mascarpone, and now I'm making fresh mozzarella. So let's walk through what you need to actually do this. So we're going to start with using a good quality milk. This is a gallon, and I would go local and organic if you possibly can. We all know how I feel about that. But the most important thing is that you need to use either a raw milk or a pasteurized milk, but not an ultra-pasteurized milk. Ultra-pasteurized milk is actually heated up twice. It kills too much bacteria, and you will not get the curd that you are looking for. The next thing is water. I use a bottled water because you need unchlorinated water, and you can't rely on tap water to not have chlorine, so that's why I'm going with this. If you don't use unchlorinated water, you could lose your curd again. Next, we have citric acid, and this is what this looks like in the package. It comes from the New England Cheese Company, and that's where I got my cheese making supplies, and it looks like this, which looks a lot like the salt that we have here as well. And then this is liquid rennet. I also got that from the New England Cheese Company. Then just in terms of utensils, quickly, I use a small whisk to just dissolve my citric acid in my water, instant read thermometer, wooden spoon, that's just for stirring, some kitchen twine to make sure that you can wrap up your cheese, and this is a large slotted spoon, really ideal for this, and a good sharp knife, long, because you have to get through all that curd. And I use just some kitchen rubber gloves because the cheese gets quite hot. Then some cheesecloth, colander, and a bowl, and we are all set to go. So we are going to start with heating our milk up to 50 degrees. Okay, I'm just checking the temperature of my milk, and it's a little over 50 degrees, which is just fine. And you can see, if you look at this non-homogenized milk, actually has pieces of cream in it already. Just gorgeous. It's not really curd yet, and I dissolved in my water my citric acid, so it's a half a cup of water and a teaspoon and an eighth of citric acid. It took me like a minute of whisking to get that to actually dissolve, and then I'm just going to make sure as I'm stirring here that I get that nice and incorporated, so I'll probably stir this for about 30 seconds. Then what we're going to do is bring the temperature up to 90 degrees, and we're going to hold it there for a whole hour. The way I do that is I just turn the heat off when it hits 90 degrees and check it every 5 minutes or so just to make sure. Let's see where we're at right now. Well, we're already up to 60. Okay, we'll just keep checking this over the next few minutes and get it up to 90. So I'm going to check this with my instant read thermometer. Interesting fact about this, if you can see this little dent, that is actually where the temperature is read on an instant read. So if you don't get that into the liquid, you're not getting an accurate temperature. So we are right at 90 degrees. Perfect. Up to 91. But that's okay. So I'm just going to cut the heat, and then what I do is I check it every 5 minutes or so, and if it starts to drop a little bit, I just turn the heat back on for a minute, and I just work it that way for the next hour. So what you can see here already, I'm getting curd forming, which is just beautiful, and you'll see that my cream is starting to melt. That's totally fine as well. So while our milk and citric acid is back there making curds, and it is, by the way, holding its temperature nicely without any additional heat, we're going to make our roasted pepper, tomato, and caper compote. compote. Compotes typically are fruit, I know that, but this has a very similar consistency to a fruit compote, so it's a vegetable compote. So what I've done to start this is I've taken 1.5 pounds of the small, sweet baby peppers and a 1/2 pound of grape tomatoes. I tossed them in a little olive oil with salt and roasted them in a 400-degree oven for about 25 minutes. I let them cool down, obviously, and now I'm going to just chop the tops off of the peppers, get rid of any seeds, and then continue chopping them up, and then we'll put this together. So I've added some olive oil, 1/3 of a cup, for medium-high heat, and I just tossed in a couple of tablespoons of capers. Capers, by the way, are native to the Mediterranean and Mideast, and they're actually little buds that are dried and then brined. And you can see how they start to open up. We call that blooming. This is really quite hot, so keep that screen handy. Now I'm going to add 1.5 tablespoons of tomato paste concentrate. I love when they started making this in a tube. Now this is really going to spatter. And you just stir this around until it becomes smooth, and it kind of takes on a brick red color. There we go. And you adjust the heat a little bit. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, we're going to add in a small red onion diced. And this is a 1/2 fennel bulb, also diced. We'll stir this around. And this is going to take about 4 or 5 minutes. You want your vegetables to get nice and soft, and they will also kind of take on that brick red color. Now just a little salt and a very good pinch of red pepper flakes. Let this go for about a minute. And this is 2 or 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Oh, I can smell. Oh, it's just amazing. And we'll cook that down for a minute and add in our tomatoes and peppers. Now this is a point after these go combined where I would adjust the salt and vinegar if necessary. Let this go for about a minute, and let's get back to our mozzarella. You can see we have a lot of curd formed here, and to take it the rest of the way, I've dissolved my liquid rennet, 1/4 teaspoon, into a 1/4 cup of the bottled water, and I'm just going to pour it through my slotted spoon just to help distribute it all over the top of this. There we go. Rennet, by the way, this is an animal rennet. You can find vegetarian rennet as well, if you prefer that. And then we're just going to do an up and down movement to get this incorporated. You can see some of my curds right there. And what this is going to do is it's going to take it the rest of the way, and in about 15 minutes we're going to have a mass that looks like tofu. It's been our 15 minutes, and let's see how this worked. Aha, you see we have one kind of bouncy solid mass here, very much like tofu. Jiggly. Okay, now I'm going to take that long knife and I'm going to start making cuts. And what you want to do is go all the way to the bottom. That's why you need a longer knife, in about 1/2 inch intervals, and go all the way across. We're going to just make this into little cubes. And now going the other way, just like that. Now once I get through all of this, I'm going to cover this back up, check the temperature again, still want to keep it at about 90 degrees, cover it up and let it sit for 10 minutes. So I just gave this a little shot of heat to keep it at 90, which it is. It's been 10 minutes, and now I'm just going to take my slotted spoon and flip these guys over. Aren't they amazing? I just love this part. This is how you know it is all working. Just kind of expose them to the liquid. This is when the curds really set up. Then I'm going to let them sit again. I'm going to do this 3 times. Let them sit for 10 minutes, turn them, let them sit for 10 minutes, turn them, and then I'm just going to let them sit for 30 minutes.